What is your take on this statistics and how are we working towards it? How does Cognospace address this problem?
So, the problem that we are trying to address basically, stems from these statistics. There are a lot more, but we have done the regular book learning, and then the visual learning has also been augmented slightly through through YouTube or other.
So how does Cognospace's curriculum align with NEP?
Yeah. Now NEP, I should really commend the central government. They give a high level structure to this. They don't give granular level of curriculum, what has to be taught in each class.
So can you tell us more about what all of these things are?
Sure. Reimagined the 5E lesson plan. So traditionally the 5E lesson plans have been built for traditional classrooms, but we are not a traditional classroom. We don't truly rely on vendors and get certain equipment or tools to support our learning methodology.
Breaking this down for us, do you think that you are bringing something extremely unique to the kids and for the future of education?
We are bringing extremely unique to the students, and we are also constantly innovating. So we keep bringing uniqueness.
How does Cognospace support schools and vice versa in implementing such a comprehensive system?
Whatever they have been doing in the regular classrooms, let them do it to the perfection and enhance that particular activity even more, add more their own creativity to it, their own elements to it. If we are asking them to build a small car.
How do you envision Cognospace shaping the future of Indian education system?
Very successful corporates, right? We have worked for 15 years in US. I work with a lot of banks leading, multiple functions,
Welcome to another enlightening session of Pallavi Talks. Today I bring to you another inspiring conversation to keep you motivated and determined to do better. Today we have with us a visionary co-founder, Mr. Santosh Ballu. I welcome him to the show. He is the co-founder of Cognospace. Cognospace is aiming to change and transform the future of education in India. And we are looking forward to get inspired by this conversation right now. Welcome, Mr. Ballu.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And before we delve into the journey of founding Cognospace, we would love to know more about you and your introduction and your time prior to Cognospace.
Yep. First of all, thanks for this opportunity. I think it's a great platform for us to talk about our product, and it's a time for us to show gratitude to the Pallavi group as well. For the kind of collaboration we have had over the past 1 year. So my name is Santosh. I am the co-founder CEO of this organization, Cognospace, and like you rightly said, we're trying to transform how students learn through innovative methods of teaching. We're trying to incorporate latest and greatest of what's available out there, and bring the best to the students and augment how they have been learning, what we have missed as kids. We think the students should have the opportunities to explore different areas, explore what's out there in the world, and open up their minds to make informed choices for their future.
That is great indeed. So talking about the challenges that the education system is facing at the moment. So I have the statistics with me which say that only 43% of 14 to 18-year-olds, they can do simple division, and less than 10% of high school students, they have strong communication and behavioral skills. And shockingly, students forget 90% of what they learn in theoretical classes within a week.
Yes.
So what is your take on this statistics and how are we working towards it? How does Cognospace address this problem?
Exactly. So, the problem that we are trying to address basically, stems from these statistics. There are a lot more, but I think these three can actually talk about the crux of what we are trying to do. Especially the third point that you mentioned, right? About 90% of what students learn in a typical classroom is forgotten after a week. But why does that happen? Right? Because most of the learning today in traditional classrooms is based on books, right? And with the augment of some digital platforms over the last 4 or 5 years, some bit of visual learning has come into the classes, and instead of just abstract form of learning through textbooks, now students get an opportunity to pictorially visualize or see that particular concept, or understand it deeply, right? But what is the next level? We have done the regular book learning, and then the visual learning has also been augmented slightly through through YouTube, or other players who are in the market who provide these edtech solutions. But the next and the very important way of understanding the topics, or for longer retention of those topics, is experiential learning, right? And when the research says, while 90% of a regular theoretical class is forgotten after a week, but when the same concept or with the same topic is understood via activity, by performing an activity or experiencing or visualizing that concretely, right? About 75% of it is written not just for a week but for life. I'll give a personal example, and probably that will also address why this idea even came for us to start this organization. About probably 30 years ago, when I was in my 6th grade, now I probably told my age here, but that's okay. About 30 years ago, when I was in my 6th grade, my teacher produced electricity using a bunch of potatoes. That particular thing still stays in my mind, while almost everything in 6th grade is already forgotten. Why? Because I have experienced it. I have seen that potatoes can produce electricity, and I have even delved into that particular thing years later. Like, what's happening inside a potato that it's producing electricity, right? So that is the impact of experience in something, and where the retention, not just retention, but the curiosity it generates, and the kind of opening up of your mind that it does, it's immense. And unfortunately, with the kind of priorities that schools have today, the competitive environment that it is, and the kind of priorities that parents have, the schools cannot do enough in this area, because they have to concentrate on their core competences, and they have to address the core areas. But somebody from outside can come and fill this gap, and that's exactly what we do. We have created tools and methodologies of not just understanding regular concepts from an experiential standpoint, but also creating them an exposure into these diverse engineering and technology domains as well. We can get into that more in your other questions, but so that's what we are, and we're trying to bridge that huge gap of not having enough practical exposure to conceptual understanding.
Great, yes. So we understand you talked about experiential learning.
Yeah.
And so experiential learning has to align with NEP 2020 as well,
Yes.
As per the government policy, which
Correct.
is the National Educational
Yes.
Education Policy 2020. So how does Cogno Space's curriculum align with NEP?
Yes. Now, NEP, I should really commend the central government for thinking about something like this. Although there have been challenges in implementing this on the ground, but the idea or the philosophy behind NEP 2020 should really be commended. Although there are still some issues that that really need to be addressed, but primarily NEP 2020 talks about holistic learning, interdisciplinary learning, experiential learning, right? They want to, the government is trying to promote this additional forms of learning in addition to what has been done for generations, right? So, it encourages schools to have these advanced laboratories where, these new gen ideas are being explored by students, new gen technologies are being explored by students. For example, the Atal tinkering labs, right? That's a lot of schools have today. It's one such step towards this. But the major gap in something like Atal Tinkering Lab is, the onus is again on the schools. There's lack of curriculum, there is lack of guidance, there is lack of training, there is lack of the overall structure that's needed to execute such programs, right? And even Atal Tinkering Labs are not comprehensive enough to promote experiential learning. Now, our program, while it aligns with a lot of NEP 2020 aspects, it also solves for the three main things that schools require to make such a program function, right? Which is the infrastructure, right? Schools, if they have to create an infrastructure like we do, right, an environment that would support such form of learning, they would have to invest a lot of time and effort, not just money. Of course, money is there, but so that's one gap that we address. We take the onus of creating the right environment or right infrastructure because we have mastered the process, right? The second is skilled resource. Now, if the school has to create such a program and has to hire somebody and train them, it's a huge time and effort involvement once again. So that we fill, right? And the curriculum, which is the major aspect of it. Now, while things like Atal Tinkering Lab, they give a high level structure to this, they don't give granular level of curriculum, what has to be taught in each class, the step-by-step process of doing certain things. So this curriculum is also very important. So our program creates the infrastructure, it provides skilled resources, and it provides the right curriculum and guidance that is required to deliver such program while making it very comprehensive. So if Atal Tinkering Labs, they just focus on robotics, automation and things like that. But our program, apart from these, it covers 15 plus engineering and technology modules, be it structural, mechanics, kinematics, drones, renewable energy, so on and so forth. In addition, we also cover the regular classroom concepts of science and math from a practical or experiential standpoint. So the kids are doing activities and visualizing and experiencing these concepts. So, that's how we suffice the NEP 2020 requirements and also provide a solution that the current solutions are not doing.
That is outstanding to know. That is a lot of dynamism input into the curriculum. So talking about experiential learning again, so we understand that your curriculum at Cogno Space, it is quite inquiry driven as it aligns with NEP, with the NEP 2020. So it has a student centric approach and it includes proprietary STEM systems, STEM kits, and also 5 lesson plans and and also technologies like use of AR and VR and other 3D printing.
Yes.
So can you tell us more about what all of these things are?
Sure. Thanks for that question. Actually, we have reimagined the 5E lesson plan. So traditionally, the 5E lesson plans, have been built for traditional classrooms, but we are not a traditional classroom. We had to reimagine the 5E lesson plan. So for our 5E lesson plan, it starts with, of course, explain. So as soon as students come to this environment, right, they watch a video for about 5 minutes where the visual learning aspect is covered. So the abstract learning is covered in the classroom, but when they come here, the visual learning is covered through the first component, explain, right? So they watch a video for like 5-10 minutes where the SME or the subject matter expert is explaining the concept in a very engaging manner using a lot of animation, graphics, and also demonstrating the activity that they are going to perform. So that's the explain. And then the next E is engage, wherein the student is taking the necessary tool or technology and performing the activity through live engagement with the equipment, right? And then there are things like exposure, wherein we actually give them handouts and ask them to relate the concept that they have engaged upon and explore these additional resources that we give for real world application understanding of those concepts, right? And then we extend by giving some take home activities as well on that same particular concept. So we had to reimagine the 5E lesson plan to suit our classroom, and it's this 5E lesson plan is more about experience and activities. So the other question is about the tools and technologies that we use, right? So we don't truly rely on vendors and get certain equipment or tools to support our learning methodology. We have our own in-house R&D, wherein each of the concept or each of the domain is studied ground up, right? And then the necessary tools are conceptualized in-house and produced in-house as well, right?
Great.
So we have, our strength is the R&D, and our R&D is at the core of our curriculum.
Great.
And you know, so when you talk about STEM kits, you know, these are all homegrown, and you know, a lot of thought is put into it, and they're continuously innovated, right? So we refresh our curriculum every year, and we come to the schools with a refreshed curriculum. So in a way, you know, something new has come outside in the market, or you know, in the educational world. It's our job to selfishly keep our curriculum innovative as well. So we come to the school every year with a refreshed curriculum, refreshed modules, and refreshed tools, refreshed STEM kits, and the school can change every year to keep them relevant with changing education technology. You know, that's how strong our R&D is, right? But other major element that I want to touch upon is some of the technologies that we use. We use things like augmented reality. Now, biology, you know, it's more about life, right? But can you bring a human cell or a frog or a human heart to a classroom? And can kids be comfortable exploring that thing in front of them? No, right? Like, and that's a huge challenge. But how do we bridge that gap, right? So for that, we use technology like augmented reality, where kids can project these 3D models in front of them. It's a digital model. It's a real heart that has come to life digitally, right? So they can get immersed into that, right? Into that same model,
right.
Break it open, understand it deeply, and, you know, explore the minutest part of a human heart, for example, right? So likewise, we have built a lot of 3D models that get projected in front of children and creates an immersive approach for them. So we are letting the topic or the domain choose the technology we use. It's not the other way around, because just because augmented reality is fancy, we don't want to use augmented reality for teaching every topic. We let the topic choose the technology. And for instance, with virtual reality, we do something very interesting. Now, these days, we are not taking kids on industrial field trips. Maybe because of traffic, security, cost, whatever, right? But how about bringing industry to the classroom? Technology enables us to do that, right? So with virtual reality, what we are doing is we are traveling across industries, creating these nice industrial field trips. For instance, a coal mine. Even if you want to take students there, you cannot take them. But we are going there. We are shooting the entire life cycle of that industry and creating these nice tours, adding narration to it, and when kids wear this and explore, they get virtually transported to these environments, right? So we are letting the topic choose the medium, right? Similarly, 3D designing and printing, you know, this very futuristic, and kids need to have an eye towards it. And our platform, you know, kids design in 3D. For example, they design a drone, they print it out in the classroom, and they fly it.
Wow.
So the entire life cycle of from design thinking to prototyping, it's done within this lab.
All of this sounds amazing and fascinating. And I feel like I wanted to be fortunate enough to experience this myself. Well, talking about solutions, you have so many things to offer in your curriculum that Cogno Space is offering. So you are offering classrooms which are innovative. You are offering labs which are experiential, and state-of-the-art curriculum, of course, that you are planning, and which includes hands-on activities. So breaking this down for us, do you think that you are bringing something extremely unique to the kids and for the future of education?
We are bringing extremely unique to the students, and we are also constantly innovating. So we keep bringing uniqueness, right? Every year on year. Other important thing I wanna point to is we let the schools design their own Cogno Space. Our curriculum is so diverse. You know, practically, you know, in a span of 1 year, you cannot cover so much, right? But we let the school choose the curriculum they want. So, you know, we have this entire repository of 500 plus activities that is separated grade wise. So there are about 60 to 80 activities per grade.
That's great.
If the school wants to make this lab an engineering lab for certain grades, they can choose the engineering side of topics, right? If the school thinks, okay, my children need strong foundations in science and math, they can make it a science math lab for certain grades.
Amazing.
So it's about designing the Cogno space, your own Cogno space for every grade, and also change it every year, right? So this is how the curriculum is customized, and it can be customized across grades. A 7th grade module can be chosen in 5th, a 5th grade module can be chosen in 6th. So likewise, we customize our cloud platform to suit your school's needs, right? And we also put a full-time educator, right, who is well trained, who is capable enough to deliver everything, and who is also supported by a strong digital content that I was talking about, right? The videos that students watch. So this is the operational model, which will cater to every school's needs.
Very well answered. So since it involves many aspects that we have to cater to, how do you think a school can support this with the resources? As in, how does Cogno Space support schools and vice versa in implementing such a comprehensive system?
Yes. So again, this is another problem area we're trying to solve for schools. So early part of interview, I was talking about the school doesn't have the time and it doesn't have the necessary resources to support such an environment, right? We want the schools to continue concentrating on their core competencies, right? Whatever they have been doing in the regular classrooms, let them do it to the perfection. And we want to take care of a solution like this that is also very important for students end to end. We don't want to burden the schools with anything. When we do these labs,
right,
from painting to stocking, we take care of it. From maintenance, let's say a tablet goes bad, a TV goes bad, a tool goes bad, we replace it. Our educator on site is continuously in touch with us, as well as the school, where constant updates are being provided to the school on what sessions have been conducted, the videos, the photographs that are needed for their validation, and the weekly summary report that we create. So this way we communicate to the school. At the same time, we take the burden of maintenance from the school, right? We take care of it end to end, and everything is incorporated in this end-to-end solution, which makes it easy for the schools to absorb it.
That's indeed great to know. And you also mentioned about the 5E lesson plans, which is about engaging, explaining, evaluating, exposure, and then extending. That's great. So let's talk about the impact of this 5E lesson plan, which is extremely innovative as we speak. So what kind of results have you seen so far after implementing the 5E lesson plan? How do you think the students are responding, and also the educators, how are they responding to Cogno Space's curriculum?
Yes. Thank you for that question. Actually, I'm very happy to say that the students are loving the program, right? And the validation for that is whatever schools we have done in year 1, which was the last academic year, all of them are renewing. And in fact, they're adding more grades. It just speaks about the student interest in such programs, especially because I'll just contrast it with a regular robotics program, right?
Okay.
Now, if there is a regular robotics program that's currently running in the school,
right,
the student, after about a month or 2, he knows it's the same kit that he's going to use. Right. It's the same domain that he's going to delve into.
Yes.
But with Cogno Space, there is a surprise element. He doesn't know, or the kid doesn't know, which module he is going to delve into, right? It could be a science concept, it could be a math concept, it could be structural engineering, it could be mechanics, it could be robotics, it could be AI, it could be a virtual reality session that is very fascinating for students, it could be a 3D printing session. So this surprise element actually keeps the students glued to this environment, right?
Right.
And they want to stay here for longer. They want to finish the activities,
right,
and especially the engage portion in the 5E lesson plan that I was talking about. They love this, right? So if we are asking them to do one activity, they finish that activity, but also want to stay more in that classroom and enhance that particular activity even more, add more their own creativity to it, their own elements to it. If we are asking them to build a small car, you know,
Hmm.
they give it all sorts of decor and innovation and make it
Exactly.
even more innovative,
There's
right?
an element of fun in this as we
Yes,
speak,
yes,
which
yes.
prompts them to do better,
Correct.
learn better, become better.
And another example of the impact it is creating is, you know, especially for the non-meritorious kids, right? When they sit in their traditional classrooms, they are, you know, sometimes not very interested in reading from textbooks and listening to the teacher, right?
Exactly.
But these kids could also be kinesthetic, right?
Right.
Where they love learning through activities, they
Very
love
true.
building things, right? So we have had scenarios where kids would come and tell us, okay, had I been taught the same concept that I was learning in the classroom this way, I probably would understand this, right? So there are a couple of examples have been like, for example, to explain Pythagoras theorem, we ask the children to build a boat, paper
Okay.
boat.
Okay.
They build a paper boat, they open it up, they see a lot of right angle triangles, and from there on they can see a visual proof of Pythagoras theorem. Now, a regular, a child, above average child who is fond of learning through textbooks, you know, he would use the Pythagoras theorem formula, you know, either he would memorize it or maybe he has his own way of visualizing the proof of it, right? But for a
Yes.
non-meritorious child, building a boat and understanding Pythagoras theorem better is probably more impactful, right? And
Right.
that's how it is, right? For example, again, another example is one of the children came to us, our educator, and said, "Oh, if I was told about concave and convex mirrors this way, you know, instead of reading from the textbook, that would be long lasting for me. Now I understand concave, convex better. I can even answer a question in my examination, right?" From an impact standpoint, although we are really helping the meritorious kids,
Right.
we are, I think our bigger achievement is on the non-meritorious side.
This is indeed great to know that the curriculum is not only impacting the HOTS but also the LOTS students that we have. So, also moving towards the future, talking about the future of Cognospace, how do you envision Cognospace shaping the future of Indian education system?
Thank you for that question. It is very close to my heart. So, you know, we both myself and my co-founder Satish, we have been very successful corporates, right? We have worked for 15 years in US. I worked with a lot of banks, leading, you know, multiple functions. But this thing has been close to our heart because it stems from our personal experiences. You know, we think that there is a huge gap in the way students learn today, and there is a solution that is required to fill this gap, and we are exactly building that. And you know, our vision is to make experiential learning, or you know, these innovative ways of learning mainstream in schools, and not just in school, even at homes, right? So we are creating different product lines and different solutions that would take experiential learning to all corners, right? And uh, basically make the emphasis on experiential learning stronger and stronger. It has to become as important as your textbooks, and that's our vision and the goal. And we will do everything that is possible with us, and create different solutions, different product lines to take this across India.
That's indeed quite motivating. So, as we move further with the questionnaire, we're moving towards the end of this amazing and inspiring conversation. So, before we wrap up, I would like to know what message do you have for all the parents out there and the students and the teachers who are looking forward to Cognospace's curriculum,
Yeah.
and what impact do you think it would have upon the teachers, parents, and students alike?
Yeah.
And how enjoyable is it, do you think,
Yes.
for all of them?
First of all, it's a very fun learning environment. Like I said, you know, there is a huge surprise element for student, for every class, and you know, for teachers as well. You know, while they can concentrate on, you know, on their regular core areas, you know, they could also use our tools, right?
Right.
And our methodologies in probably improvising their own way of teaching to
Exactly.
students as well, right? And we are completely open about it. You know, it's not like we don't welcome the educators in the school to this environment and not let them see our methods. You know, we are absolutely fine with it. And you know, and that is the sort of impact we want to create even on the educators' part. For schools, it's a solution that is very much required, and through this platform, you know, whoever is watching, right, I want I want the schools, to explore our product, to really understand what we are doing. Don't treat us like another robotics company. We are here with a very sacred mission, and we are here to actually comprehensively address the problem that is out there. Because not just robotics, right? Of course, robotics is important, but STEM learning, or this comprehensive learning that is required for students, doesn't start or end with robotics. Let's move out of that phase and put the optics aside, or the perception to the outer world aside, and bring in solutions that are really important for learning outcomes of students. I think part of the problem is also the government and the
Right.
emphasis on competitive exams.
Right.
Why not make the IIT entrances more comprehensive, not just IIT examination score, but also try to judge student on what kind of projects they have done, what
Right.
kind of sports they were involved with, what kind of life skills they have developed, what kind of volunteering they have done.
Exactly.
Have they been part of any NGOs?
Right.
This will have a upstream impact to the schools and educators level also, right? Now they will start modifying the way they are teaching. The schools will change their priorities to make learning more wholesome, more comprehensive.
Yes.
And unless that happens, the evaluation criteria of these competitive exams change, this thing, it's a long journey for us, and for even for players for like us, it's going to be tough, right? So I have a message for both schools and the governments.
That is well answered. That is very well said. Thank you for all the information that you've shared. It's been very enlightening to know everything that you have shared with us. Thank you once again. And so thank you so much, Mr. Ballu, for joining us for today's session and sharing information with us.
Yeah, thank you, Pallavi Group, for this opportunity. I think it means a lot to us, and I also want to personally thank the Pallavi Group for the encouragement they have provided to us. Being open to such ideas, welcoming such companies to come and operate in their schools, right? It takes a lot of conviction and trust. And I'm so happy that Pallavi Group promotes such ideas. In fact, to be honest with you, Pallavi Group were the first 3 schools that we ever signed, right? So I think in a way, it's a in a way we have immense gratitude towards Pallavi Group for getting us started, and they are probably the reason why we are here today. Thanks to you for those wonderful questions, and thank you everybody involved for this opportunity and thinking about us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ballu. It was a fantastic, awe-inspiring conversation to know that you are bringing such amazing innovations to better the system of education in India, and inspiring the lives of many others out there who are the blooming entrepreneurs that we look up to. So, and thank you very much for the viewers for tuning in to Pallavi Talk. And for more such inspiring conversations, keep tuning in to Pallavi Talks. Please like, share and subscribe to Pallavi Talks on social media, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. And we are looking forward to bring more such stories to you in the future. But for now, this is Apeksha, your host, signing off for the day. I'll see you next time with another amazing, inspiring person and conversation.